So I recently saw some forum posts and things like that with people having trouble with the copy paste in Maya, and specifically with animation. But I wanted to kind of just show that it's not quite as terrible as everybody thinks. It's actually quite powerful, but for the quick everyday to-day stuff, if you don't set it up right, it's super confusing. And there's also some quirks that I wanted to explore. So the first thing is everything in Maya is context sensitive. So it makes a big difference where your mouse is when you copy and when you paste. I know that sounds weird, but it's true. So if I'm in just my normal Maya view here and I hit Control V, I'm actually going to I'm going to paste a whole bunch of stuff from a previous file. This is a brand new scene. If I do new scene and do Control V again, I'm going to get that stuff. So it's whatever's in my copy buffer. And that can be anything from like a single object to an entire Battleship Yamato or something like that. And so it can be very confusing, and sometimes people's Mayas lock up, and it's really because they hit Control V and they've brought in an entire scene. It can be a fully animated character with fur. It could be anything. I try to tell everybody never to use Control C, Control V because of this issue explicitly. Once you bring in everything by mistake, or maybe on purpose, one of the things that Maya does is this is actually an import. So if I try and undo this, you'll notice I have no more undo commands. You're like, what are you talking about? I just pasted. It's because the Control C, Control V is sort of outside of the normal Maya purview stuff. It's not the same as duplicate. It's not the same as import or export. It's sort of something, it takes advantage of the computer's copy buffer, so it does some weird stuff. So I try never to use it, but if you do use it and you do accidentally paste in, which happens to all of us, what it does do is, remember, it's like an import, so it puts pasted onto the front of everything. This is actually a good thing. This makes it very easy to select everything that was pasted into your scene. Now remember, what you see in your outliner may not be everything that actually got pasted in your scene. There could be shaders, there could be utility nodes, there could be animation nodes, there could be all sorts of stuff. You never really know. There could be display layer information. There's a million different things. So I try never to go in here and just say delete, because I'm not exactly sure, 100% sure that I'm getting rid of everything that came into the scene. So what I'm always going to do is do a select quote pasted __ star parentheses. So what that's going to do is make sure it not only gets the objects, but also gets all the things that you can't normally see in Maya. You notice over here in my channel box, it's showing you a bunch of shapes. If I open up the node editor and select one of these objects, you see it has animation on it. If I run an up and downstream graph, you see I have the actual thing that created the sphere, that's node, the shape node, and then I have all this animation on here. Now, animation is kind of a fun, it's kind of a one-off thing, because if I delete the object, it deletes the animation. But if for whatever reason that animation was broken and I just delete that sphere, it's not going to go away. So you'd never really know that you've gotten everything unless you go in here and say select pasted __ star. Then I know I have everything. Now I can delete it, and now I know I'm clean. Now this group here is created to put all that pasted information underneath, everything that can be grouped. If you have lots of groups in your scene, it's going to have a number at the end. Not a big deal, just delete that too. All right, but that's not what I wanted to talk about, but it is one of those things to be aware of. So what I'm going to do is just create a sphere and key it and make some sort of like little, I don't know, figure 80 sort of thing here. Whoops, there we go. Go over here now, go down here, blah, blah, blah. Scale it, move it, do that, scale it back up. All right, so I have my little animation going, right? Woohoo! Now that I'm excited. But what I want to do is use this as the base to copy from. So I've reset my copy and paste to factory defaults to give you an idea of what it does by default, so you can see what to expect. So the first thing I'm going to look at is in the channel box. So I'm going to create another object. I got a torus here. I'll select my sphere, and I will, in the channel box, highlight the channels and hit Control C. Now when you do that, you want to make sure you're over the channel box with the channels. If I do it in the main view, I'm actually just going to copy the sphere into that copy buffer. So I don't want to do that. And I also try and do this immediately. If I do a copy, I immediately do a paste. That way there's less chance of things getting in there. So I'll select that torus, and again, put my mouse over the channel box, Control V, and now I've got matching animation, rotation, scale, translate, rotate, scale. Maya actually knows what to do with all those channels and connects them all up. And 9 times out of 10, this is exactly what I want. I want a one-for-one transfer of animation. The problem is if I'm not in the exact same frame where I copied that original animation from, like say I go to frame 5 here, and go to my channel box, and I hit Control, whoops, try it again. Control, oh, what am I doing? Hey, get out of there. There we go. There we go, Control V. You notice that they're not lining up. It's actually 5 frames delayed. This can actually be something that you'd like, but more than often it's something you don't want. And that's why it gets a little confusing to people, because they'll be like, wait, I copied my animation from the sphere to the torus, and they're not lining up. They're off by 5 frames, or they're off by who knows what frames, because who knows what frames you are on when you paste. Now you can get some, kind of cool, offset animation things. If that's something you're quickly doing some motion graphics or something like that, you want to make sure you don't accidentally click on that channel. There we go. I now have, a nice little follow chain of animation. But 9 times out of 10, when I'm animating, I want the animation to go exactly where it came from in the clipboard. And by that, I mean on what frame it came from. It's the exact same frame I want it to be placed on. If I create another object, let's create a cylinder here, and I go down to the time slider here, and I do a paste. You don't have any options. You have paste and paste connect. Paste connect will actually move animation that's post your copy downstream. It gets a little bit confusing super fast, but I'm not going to get into that. I'm just going to go into the regular paste, paste it. Now it appears like it did it right, but it actually didn't, because you notice it only did the single channel, and this is going to get confusing for people too. So I'll grab all that and cut it. I'll grab my P-sphere. I'm going to highlight my timeline, copy it. Now I'll go to that cylinder and paste it. And again, it's based on the frame you're on, so it's now doing it at frame 73. I don't want that, so I want to make sure I go to frame 1 and then do my paste. And now I'm going to get, a one-to-one match of my cylinder and my sphere's animation. Be a little bit confusing. Little extra, bits you have to do to remember that by. That's part of the reason why I rarely use the Control-C, Control-V method. I do will every once in a while, and also I rarely use the one in the time slider for the exact same reason, because I can't set it to remember from the clipboard where it came from. So let's take a look at from the clipboard. So I'll get rid of the cylinder, and what I will do is just create a soccer ball. Cool. And I'll go to any old frame. I'm going to select that P-sphere. I'm going to go to Key, Copy Keys. And in this, I'm actually going to do one change, which is get rid of shapes. 9 times out of 10, I don't want the shape animation that's on my object. I just want the translate, rotate, scale, or whatever channels are visible in the channel box. I'll go ahead and copy that. Right. Now I'm going to select my soccer ball here. I'll go to Key, Paste Keys, and open up the option box. And this is the one that I want to change. As you can see, by default, it's set on current. And that just means whatever frame you're on, that's where it's going to go. So I will always change this to clipboard. So now it means frame 1 will be frame 1, frame 25 will be frame 25, and everything else will be the same. Clipboard adjustment, I say preserve it. For paste method, I'm going to use replace. If you take a look at the little icons here, what merge does is it actually leaves old animation that used to be in there, and so you'll get something kind of weird. What insert will do actually move whatever animation's in the way down the line. That's what the paste connect is like. And replace will just replace it outright. Again, these are a little bit confusing options, but they can be super helpful. But again, 9 times out of 10, I just want to do A to B. I don't want any be guessing what happened. So the easiest, least confusing is clipboard, replace, paste keys. And now you see that my soccer ball and my original sphere are in the exact same place. I'll do that again. I'm going to undo. I'll go to frame like 74, key, paste keys, I don't have to open the options, but just to make sure that they're there, I'll hit apply, and you notice that they still line up the way that I'd expect them to. Now the unfortunate thing is that when you set that, you would hope that, oh yeah, I can just use the paste down here now and get the same thing. But no, it still goes back to those original default settings, and we'll use current rather than clipboard. And again, this is why people get really confused, because like, wait a minute, I set the settings, why aren't they working? It's because the channel box and the timeline use different settings than the menu and the graph editor. Now the one in the graph editor, at least, the nice thing about that is when you do an edit paste in here, it uses those same exact settings. I'm not 100% going to guarantee that they're the same option boxes, but they should be. If I go to paste keys, you know, it matches if I go to key paste keys. There could be some trickery in the background, but what I've found is those two options will always be identical to each other. So if I change it here, let's just do this by default, and then open it up here, it has changed. So those should be the exact same thing. So I have seen people that said, you know, if you want to copy paste keys, you got to go grab one and then copy, grab the other object and just go paste and blah, blah, blah. No, you don't have to do that. You can just select them all at once. And also, if you want, you can, you know, say we just want the scale that we did here. I can go in here, go to Windows, Animation, Graph Editor, select the scale keys, say Edit Copy. I'm going to give myself a new object. Let's try a helix, right? And I will do Edit Paste. And as you can see, I only get the scale keys from that original animation. You can do that with the other commands as well with the from the menu without opening the graph editor. You're just going to use in the paste copy keys. You're going to change it from all cable to from channel box. And actually, from channel box is probably not a bad idea. It'll remind you to always select those channels. So actually, I'll save that. So just for fun, we'll do like just the rotates. So I do an edit, or sorry, key, copy key, and I'll bring in, I don't know, a gear, and I'll do an edit, sorry, I keep saying edit, key, paste keys. It's only going to do those rotations. And so now you see we have those rotations only. That's the way I use it most of the time. I avoid using Control-C, Control-V just because it can be super confusing and you're never sure what you're going to get. And if you happen to be off by just a tiny bit, you know, in the window, you're going to end up getting, you know, who knows what imported into your scene. The timeline one would be great if it would, you know, have options but doesn't have options, so I don't use that one either. So I'll either do it directly in the graph editor. Part of that is nice too because you can actually see the results immediately and you'll know that they're right. Or I will use the one straight from the copy keys and paste keys from here. Now you notice there's no, unlike up here where you have the hotkeys that go in there, the copy keys and paste keys don't match that. I am not 100% sure you can change those hotkeys to Control-C to Control-V to use these two instead. I think it's sort of like one of those sacred hotkeys in most operating systems and you can't change them. It might be worth trying. I don't know. But anyway, I hope this was helpful to someone, and next time they're trying to copy keys, they're not going to go tear their hair out too much. Oh, one last thing I'll leave you with, and this is kind of fun. I'll grab that sphere and do a copy, and then I will take I don't know, a pyramid. That's boring. But anyway, key, paste keys. I'm going to open that up, and again, play with these settings. But one of the things that's kind of cool is, you know, I can go in here and hit 5 under copies, paste that, and I'll open up my time range here. Something bigger, and now you see, oops, did I not? Oh, I forgot to go blip, edit, key copy. There we go. Take that pyramid, key paste. There we go. And now I actually have that that pyramid looping that animation over and over and over again for 5 times. If you do that, make sure you go back into your paste keys, set it back to 1, and save those settings. Anyway, so I hope that was helpful. And next time you're doing some animation, you may take advantage of it to do something you normally wouldn't do. Or if you're doing your normal animation and you want to copy paste as expected, you know how to do it. All right, thanks.